From game-changing advantages to Charlie's Angels, we have it all here on Drop Your Buffs, a podcast discussing Australian Survivor. On this episode, we'll be discussing the Australian Survivor episode that aired on Tuesday, the 6th of September. So if you haven't seen this episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, please leave the Tribal Council area immediately. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just go to dropyourbuffs.com for more details. My name is Stuart, and with me is my co-host Craig. How's it going, Craig?
I'm good, Stu. How are you? But I'm still waiting for my Tribal Council.
Yeah, I know.
What happened to it?
It just ended, didn't it?
It did. I was sitting there thinking, we've got an immunity challenge to go. We've then got to strategise back at camp. We've then got to go through a Tribal Council, and it just all stopped.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was kind of disappointing, but again, it was still surprising because I wasn't expecting that to happen.
We were blindsided today.
Yes. Hashtag blindside.
Hashtag blindside. Yeah, I didn't know we could amend the formula like that. I thought as sure as night follows day, Survivor ends with a Tribal Council, but apparently not an Australian Survivor.
No, but we do have something else to look forward to later in the podcast. So
I think I know what that might be.
We'll just have to wait for that. But the opening of this, I'm not sure if you picked up on this, but the very start of this episode had some very nice music at the start.
Did it?
Did you hear that music?
It was just, I heard music, but I didn't make any particular...
it was very peaceful music. It had some strings in it, and it was just a very nice piece of music. And I thought, good job. Good
Nice
job.
one. Well done, Australian Survivor, with good music.
And we first started talking to Matt. Who was he describing himself as the master player? Was that his words or?
Yes, but I think Brooke also made a comment that Matt had managed to change their mind in the middle of Tribal Council, and then I think Matt then followed it up in his confessional by saying, "Well, look, I don't know what I'm doing, but whatever I'm doing, I seem to get what I want, so I'm going to keep on doing it."
Yeah, that's
so.
Right.
I think there's a bit of a general acknowledgement all around that Matt is being a bit of a mentalist, as you would expect, and it's as he says, it's working. Keep on doing it.
Well, he was talking about Charlie's Angels.
He was
about the girls being his angels. So I guess he was referring to Flick, Brooke, and Kylie.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
But I think in that scene, I don't think Kylie was actually there at that. That thing. So, and that's what again I was trying to work out. Where does Kylie fit into this? Because she doesn't really seem to be part of anyone's alliance, or
she's hanging on though. She's hanging on, and as events transpire, she might be in a better situation now than she was at the beginning of this episode. But we'll get to that.
But even though Matt was talking about, being the master player and so on, then it cuts to Flick and Brooke, who are sort of accepting that Matt's kind of a master player, but they aren't really buying it either. Though, so
they're also a bit worried about him.
Yeah, so it's not it's not all plain sailing, I think.
And once again, we saw the love affair between Matt and the chicken. He picked Chester up and told him how much he loved him. So that was a touching little moment.
Yeah, well, it's probably. Last week was sponsored by Hungry Jack's. Maybe this week RSPCA. I'm not sure.
Maybe Red Rooster.
No, Craig. How could you? But have you noticed the chickens are different in this Australian Survivor compared to the US Survivor?
No,
have you seen that?
I know nothing about chickens, so please enlighten me on the differences.
I'm not really a chicken expert, but they look more like your sort of average domesticated style chickens that you might have in your backyard, in your, like in your own little coop or something like that. Whereas the chickens on the US Survivor look a bit wilder. They're more, sort of scrawny and so on. And you always have to catch them or tie them down, or whatever. Whereas these chickens just happy being around humans, aren't they? They're very sort of domesticated. So
they do tend to hover around. And Chester particularly. I mean, Chester's what a great life Chester's got. Everyone loves him, and
yeah, that's right.
Although Chester's got to be careful because. Chickens and Survivor don't always have happy endings.
No, they don't.
But I think it's going to be hard to get rid of Chester. I think Chester's got a strong alliance there. I think he'll be right. I think he'll be fine.
Then we go over to Rowan, and he's been
Fire Master.
Well, Fire Master, Fire Warden,
whatever.
Fire Chief. And he's described as a bit of a dictator, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's not. He hasn't really. I guess he hasn't really earned the respect of the others in his tribe that he's dictating to, because they all see him for what he is.
Yeah, a few comments were made there, and he said himself, Christianelli doing a good job helping him with the fire, but then then he said they're getting the wood that doesn't burn, and he's not happy about that. And, some contradictory messages coming from Rowan there, I think.
And Kat there is, she knows that she's on the outer there, but she's just saying that, look, I think I can just try and exploit the cracks because she's seeing how Rowan's treating the others and just seeing if she can slip in there somewhere. Now, I think around this point was where they had that nighttime shot. I think it was Christie
crab.
that had the. Yeah, it was.
I have no idea who it was. I couldn't work out who it was with the night vision.
Yeah. I wasn't sure, but I'd sort of guessed it was Christie, and it looked. I mean, how do they get a shot like that? It's you have to wonder, have they got a crab somewhere and planted it right next to someone and then filmed it? Because
conspiracy theory.
Well, there was actually 2 crabs, wasn't there?
I only saw one.
I thought that there was the main one that was right in the front. That was.
Oh no, you're right. There was another one.
And there's one that's a little bit
further up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh look,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's-
We'll never know. It was good bit of footage.
Well, it cuts then straight away to the morning, and Lee's showing his damaged sneakers, and I was thinking, can crabs do that? Because I thought maybe these sort of carnivorous crabs or something have eaten these sneakers, but no, it was just the fire.
Gee, the fire did a
Just
good
the
job
fire.
on those sneakers, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That would be quite a problem. I mean, there are certain challenges along the way and certain things they do where they do need shoes, and to have I mean, they're going to fall apart. There's no way they're going to be able to hold together
No, that's right.
under the rigour that they're under. So yeah, that's a bit of a disadvantage for him. I would have thought going forward.
I don't know what the rules are because they don't really make those public, do they? But
no.
I know in other seasons of Survivor, it seems like halfway through, sometimes the castaways seem to get sort of fresh clothing, don't they?
Well, I think that's already happened in this series. A few of them, like Connor in particular. Connor started out with a check sort of long sleeve
That's
shirt.
right, yep,
He's now
yep.
wearing a t-shirt with stripes. Now, whether he had that with him all along, I don't
Yeah.
know. But Nick also had a new singlet a couple of episodes ago, and they didn't all seem to start out with board shorts and stuff. But they all seem to have them now. So I think there's been a clothing delivery. I think.
No, I think wasn't Rowan wearing a T-shirt that had a turtle with a dog's head?
Yep.
Which I'm not sure what that says about Rowan. It sounds pretty deep, but
Yeah. So no, I think there has been a bit of a clothing update in recent times.
now at this point they emphasise Jenna and Craig's alliance. We know why that is in retrospect because that will come up later on. But I think they just sort of make that point known to the viewers.
It's been
just in
pretty
case.
obvious for a while though that they were pretty tight.
Yeah,
Like we've picked up on that previously that's there.
yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I mean, in the context of what happened later in the episode, yeah, I think perhaps the producers wanted to make a bit of a.
You can see why they threw
You can
that
see
in.
why they did it in the context of what happened later. Yeah.
Now, with the next reward that we had, this was where JLP said that for this reward, it's not a reward. Well, it's not an immunity challenge. It is some kind of reward. It's a game-changing
game-changing
advantage, a GCA, as they say.
A GCA?
Yeah, a GCA.
Do they say that? Do they?
They do now.
They do now.
And but he won't tell them what it is until after the challenge. So this one is the one where they have to transfer a person using these 2 poles over the water, and then once they get to the other side, then they all have to stand on this pyramid sort of thing. So this is something that we have seen before in US Survivor.
Well, certainly a version of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so certainly a good challenge, but it was a one-horse race. wasn't
Sonapu
it?
killed it again.
Yep.
They all contributed there. I think they had good strategy in the water, getting the poles really well grounded and secure in the sand. You had Kylie, who had amazing balance up there, and
Yeah,
was
that's right.
telling them really well what she needed. Keep it straight. That one's a bit crooked. Move it. She did a lot of that. Slowly but steadily, they got there, and they killed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge advantage for them.
And so then we learned what the game-changing advantage was, didn't we? I think at that at
Yep.
that point. So that's when.
So merging into 2 tribes.
Yes, that's right.
Yep. And they were given a choice. They could either stay together and pick and choose, or they could go as a block, fill the gap, and that's what they ultimately decided to do.
It was probably not surprising that they did stay together, though. I wasn't really expecting them to split up, even though Nick is not really part of the other 4. he doesn't really belong anywhere else either, does he?
No, well, that's right. I mean, the risk if he'd gone out on his own was he'd end up with all his old Vavau members back together, and that's not going to work for him. So
no,
he doesn't have a lot of. I don't think
basically.
basically, I don't think he's got a lot of options, but I think he chose the best one from the point of view of his game.
Yes, that's right. And so I was thinking they're probably going to try and obviously choose some strong players for their new
Which they did.
team, which they did. So they chose Sam and Lee, and Elle is also another strong player as well.
That's right.
And I wasn't really thinking ahead, but of course then they're thinking of who's a fourth person we can have just as a bit of insurance, so we can have someone easy to vote out if we go to tribal council. So they picked Jenna.
That's right. And this is where Nick really proved his worth, because he knew that. Like the other members of Sanapu, wouldn't have necessarily known that, but he knew that from having been on that tribe.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's actually a bit of value he brought to the tribe there. Some good strategy there in the way he did that.
That's right, because
from a couple of perspectives. Because
exactly.
from the new
That's what I was gonna
the new
say.
Sanapu perspective, it gives them an easy vote,
yes,
but it also breaks up a powerful alliance
exactly.
going on in the other tribe. So clever, very very clever.
And it also ticks Nick's revenge list and his bucket list. He's got lots of lists.
As he said later. That's right. That's right.
Now, I think we can actually still use our sad music tonight. Do you know that?
Oh, how are we gonna? What for?
Because the tribe Aganawa is no more. It's gone. It.
Probably a good thing. I don't think anything was mourning its loss too much.
No, that's right. It was like a chicken that was put out of its misery. I
was a
guess.
bit.
Yes, and so farewell Aganawa. Now we get to one of the most exciting points, I think.
Yeah, do it.
Well, I think it's time for the fireworks because JLP finally said, "Drop your buffs." Yeah. Now, the problem though is that look, he did say, "Drop your old buffs," which I wasn't entirely happy with.
Oh, we'll take it.
Fireworks, fantastic! Good job, guys. No, I would have preferred if he just said, "Drop your buffs." Why do you have to say, "Drop your old buffs"? Because
they got new buffs, and they were the same colour for most of them.
But he hadn't given them the new buffs yet, so they only had one set of buffs, or one buff, didn't they? So there was no confusion.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Let's just take it. We've had the fireworks. It's all good.
Well, I've got something else to say about that later on too, so we'll get to that. But now I'm glad as well that they brought out another Survivor trope, and that's having the post-merge feast.
Well, hang on. Before we get to the feast, we haven't talked about New Vavau yet.
Yeah, what's that about?
Well, we've talked about the new Sanapu. We haven't talked about who's left on
Yeah,
Vavau.
okay, yep, okay. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, so just to summarise, so over there we ended up with, because they basically had they were basically then a composite of the old, what was left of Vavau and what was left of Aganoa, who didn't go across to the new Sanapu. So there we've got Connor, Craig, now separated from Jenna Louise, Rowan and Phoebe, who as we know are a strong alliance from Aganoa, Andrew, and then you've got Christy, Sue, Kate, and Kat all coming together to form the new Vavau tribe. So, interestingly, and I hope I've got this right, but Connor has now played, as a result of these mergers, all the changes that have happened, Connor has now played with all but 3 people in the game. And the 3 he hasn't been on the same tribe as so far now are Lee, Elle, and Nick. Sam has played with all but 4. The 4 he hasn't played with are Rowan, Phoebe, Christy, and Kat. And Nick has played with all but 5. And the 5 he hasn't played with are Connor, Rowan, Phoebe, Christy, and Kat. I mean, that's pretty interesting.
It is. It's actually that is a real advantage for them, because if they do find themselves at the end, and they're appealing to a jury to get their votes, it often comes down to their personal relationships with each of those people, and just really if they're good friends or not, and
or at least know them. At least have an
right.
understanding of who they are. So, and particularly at this stage of the game where we still have 18 people to go, we're a long way from the end of this thing. So early, really, relatively early in the game to have played with that many other survivors. I think from the point of view, particularly of those 3 guys, gives them some advantage. Now they're all at different places in the game. I mean, Nick is, hanging on for his life, really. Not sure where Connor is now.
No, because
I was a
we
little
didn't see too much
surprised.
of Connor, really, did
We didn't hear much from him
The
tonight.
last two episodes, really.
I was a little surprised he wasn't taken across to the new Sanapu, particularly with Sam having gone across. I don't know what the strategy was there, but I thought that he was likely to go back, but he didn't. And Sam's just Mr. Nice Guy. Everyone seems to love him, so I don't think it really matters where he slotted in. It would have been okay for him. But certainly those three in particular have now got a lot of relationships in the game, good or bad, all over the place. In terms of New Vivau, though, I really honestly do not know how that one is going to fall out in terms of who aligns with who. We know Rowan and Phoebe are close. We've got Connor there. We've got I think Connor and Craig will probably. I don't know, but I think something might happen there. I know Andrew was already interested in doing something with Connor, but then he might have a bit of an issue with Craig. You've got a few of the girls there. You've got Christy. You've Christy and Kat from Agonah probably will stick together. But I think there's potential for quite a few different groupings on that particular tribe, and I don't think we have a clear picture yet of how that's going to go.
No, well, Kat certainly loved it. I mean, for her, it was perfect for her because it's really a chance for her to start again, which is what she needed to do. And so she was pretty happy. But I guess the impression that I got was that you had the Vivau, the new Vivau tribe had seemed to be a pretty happy and cohesive sort of a tribe, and Sanapu maybe were a tribe of big hitters, but also big egos as well, and whether that was going to be a problem for them performing or not. So I guess that's something that's going to have to play out.
I think we have two very different tribes anyway. We have a new Sanapu, which has a fairly strong, well, definitely a strong 4, probably a 5, with Nick added to it, and we'll see what happens with Sam, Lee, Elle, and Jenna Louise, and where they fit in. But over on New Vivau, I think it's fractured in all sorts of different directions and could go anywhere. So we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, sorry to disturb you from the feast.
No, well, just after all that talk about Hungry Jacks in the previous episode, now we're back onto another feast, aren't we?
And someone didn't pay for their product placement here because all the beer bottles had no labels.
I didn't notice that.
They were just green bottles.
So any guesses what they could possibly have been, or were they almost like? Were they completely nondescript?
They were completely nondescript. I did not see a label on those bottles.
But they were beer.
Well, Sam, I think it was Sam said, yeah, that was definitely beer.
Well, I know that someone did say that it was better than burgers.
Oh, did they?
Someone said that, so that totally undid all the good work they did last episode.
Well, but it didn't, because I never heard that, so maybe it's not so bad.
No. Well, actually, I did hear that Hungries have pulled their sponsorship, and
right,
they aren't happy. And then we hear about, as I mentioned earlier, Nick's revenge list and his bucket list.
Yes.
He's a list man.
He's hanging on to it too. It's been quite a while now since he was voted out of the old Vivau, and he's not a happy man. He's hanging on to those past hurts, isn't he?
He is. He's a very intense character.
He is, and he had it out with Jenna Louise about it.
That was quite an extended scene, actually. I was surprised that just kept going and going. I wasn't really sure where that was going to go.
And that was probably the first bit of real conflict we've seen, really. I mean, there's been some minor spats and disagreements, and some things have been said at Tribal Council. But in terms of, two survivors having a conversation on the beach back at camp, I think that's the first time we've seen anything with a bit of heat in it.
That's right.
And I have to say, Jenna Louise wasn't backing down there. She really, she was great. She served it back to him. She didn't seem at all intimidated by that confrontation at all.
Was that the scene? I can't remember exactly which scene it was, but where someone said the S word.
Oh, it might have been.
And they didn't bleep that part out, but there was also captions as well on the screen, and they did have the these sort of underscores S. It was S underscore. So it was funny how
So we can say it, but we can't read it.
Yes, I know. I'm not really sure where you draw the line on censorship on that, but I thought that was an interesting choice anyway.
Must be something in the censorship guidelines about that. If anyone knows, please leave a comment. We'd love to know what the reason for that is.
Maybe it's the time zone or something like that, or not time zone, the time slot.
7:30 time slot, family time slot.
In. And then we get to basically the end of the episode, as we alluded to at the start.
Before we did that, though, Vivau also had their feast.
Yes.
And this is where a napkin had something special in it.
Yes.
Although we don't yet know what that was.
No.
But Craig's ended up with that. Do you think anyone was onto it? I couldn't see. I was
Not
looking
that-
around. I didn't see anyone
not
sort
that
of
we
looking at him
saw.
suspiciously that he might be up to something there.
But this happens in US Survivor all the
it does.
time.
It
And there's
does.
so many students of the game in this one. Surely.
Well, I
they'd-
was surprised that Connor wasn't thinking better than he was. He
Yeah.
just he threw them out, and you can always tell by looking at the one that Craig ultimately got. Even before they said there was anything in that napkin, you could tell
Yeah.
it looked a bit sort of rectangular, and it looked like there was something there. And Craig's sort of eyes lit up. And, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what that is.
And I assume that the other tribe had something similar, but we don't know.
We don't know.
It wasn't
No, it
shown,
hasn't
but,
been mentioned. Yeah.
that was interesting. So
But no tribal council. I feel a bit robbed. And we've got to wait till Sunday now.
yeah, it just seems like Channel 10 is just mocking us. They've got so many castaways, and we're still not going to vote anyone
That's
off.
right. Well, we got 55 days. They've probably gone, oh, God, we can't vote anyone out yet. We've got to keep them here a bit longer.
Well, we've just gotten down to 18 people, I think, now, which is the normal starting quota
Yes,
for
yeah,
US
exactly.
Survivor. So
Exactly.
so it is quite laughable at the moment, and it's very hard to gauge as well how long this season is going to go for. Because I was trying to map out episodes and so on, and trying to work out when it was roughly going to end. But if they keep pulling stunts
Yeah, well,
like
that's right.
this, who
You
knows
can't-
where it's going to end?
You can't reliably say, if they're having episodes where there's no tribal council, you can't accurately map it out.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, there are times in other Survivors where they've had two people go in one episode as well, so
That's
they
true.
can,
That's true.
so they can mix it up.
Why do you think they've sped it up the way they have to 3 nights a week? Are they? Do you think there's something coming later in the year that they need to create a bit of spare air for? Are they concerned about going up in competition against the American version when it comes back soon?
I thought it was to do with having another show that they could put on the Tuesday night to compete against other shows on Channel 7 and 9.
Yeah, okay.
I thought that's what the reason was, and if they hadn't done that, then they would have had really nothing against those other shows. So
Interesting. Anyway, so
any
That's where we're
best any best moments?
probably the little argument on the beach between Nick and Jenna Louise. There's some real anger and hurt there on Nick's side. And I think, as I said before, I think Jenna Louise absolutely held her own and served her back, and I think gave a good account of why she acted the way she did. But it was very illustrative of where Nick's thinking.
Well, it's hard to see how Nick's going to go, because if he makes it to the end, it doesn't seem like he's going to have many friends though, and
But that might help him get to the end though, because he might be seen as one of these characters where everyone thinks, look, he can't win. I want him sitting beside me to maximise my chances. So maybe that's a deliberate ploy on his part. I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's actually genuinely hurt by his being voted by so many people over voting
sounds
him
like
out.
it, yeah.
And he's got to be careful with that, because that could definitely blow up in his face.
Yeah, that's right. It shouldn't cloud his judgment on playing his own game, and so he needs to focus on that.
That's right. Yeah.
My favourite moment, actually, I did think of one, was I'm not sure if you noticed, but when Craig found the thing in his napkin, and he was sort of privately walking away to his bag with it, he had a little quick grin to the camera.
He did. Yes, I
He
saw
did,
that
which,
too.
Which again, it's it's sort of breaking that fourth wall sort of thing that it's which they don't normally do, but that was good though. That was good.
I quite like that. Yeah, that was good. Good on him.
Now, the thing that I was talking about earlier in the episode, we're talking about the drop your buffs and drop your old buffs and all that sort of thing. And we know, I think that we've mentioned before in previous episodes as well, that JLP says often similar catchphrases to what Jeff Probst, the US host, normally does, but they're just slightly different, or and we aren't really sure what the reason is, whether whether he's not allowed to, or he doesn't want to, or he wants to just make it a little bit different for himself, or what. But
Well, I like the fact he's making it a little bit different, to be absolutely honest with you.
okay, so you actually prefer that, because
I actually like it.
because I'm in the other camp actually. Because I guess I find it because I'm expecting this, the more familiar words to pop up. When they don't, I just find it a bit sort of jarring. It's like,
I mean, I like the well, yeah, you certainly do notice it. I like the familiarity of what Jeff does in the US version, but we're not watching the US version. We're watching the Australian version. And okay, as I've said before, it's got to look and feel like Survivor, and it does. I like the fact that they're doing that. They're sticking to their core principles of how it has to look and feel and sound, but JLP's just He's putting his own stamp on it, and I think he has to.
But it's a bit like how if you wouldn't like it if they didn't use the original Survivor theme music, would you?
No, that's
No.
a given.
It's kind of, to me, it's almost in the same. It's in
Oh.
it's all part of the franchise. Is having the language, the music, the look. It's all the package.
Yeah, but I think the little catchphrases, as long as they're not radically different. I mean, when he said, I think at the beginning of the challenge of this episode, he said, "Come on in, people," rather than "Come on in, guys." Well, "Come on in, guys" actually does sound quite American, doesn't it?
It does, and they aren't all guys, are they?
They're not all guys.
No.
And so, "Come on in, people." I mean, it's you know what he's trying to get at. It's broadly similar. As I say, I quite like it. I like that they are putting a unique spin on it within a familiar context.
Well, I thought I would put this question to Twitter.
Okay.
So I put a poll up just to see what everyone else thought about it. And how do you think it turned out, Craig? It was just
They're probably going to completely disagree with everything I just said. But
well, my question was, should JLP be using Jeff Probst's signature catchphrases? So it was yes and no. So there was just those two options.
See, I'd say yes and no. I'd say I'm happy that they're slightly different, but they can't be radically different.
Right. Okay. Well, only 38% said yes. So most people said no, that they shouldn't be, that JLP shouldn't be using the catchphrases.
Oh, there you go.
So so that sort of proved me wrong, I guess, or at least proved that I was on the wrong side of the fence.
No, it's just all personal preference, isn't it? It's all about your Survivor experience and what works for you to make you feel like you're watching the show you love. So,
well, certainly I think that something is working because I've spoken to people who've never watched Survivor before until this.
It's got a good following.
Australian thing, and people are hooked on this one, which is great to see.
I am loving it. I've got to be honest, before this started, I was worried about how this was going to go because I love the American version of the show so much. The previous versions of the Australian ones have not been a success. I think they've nailed it. They've got a great cast. They're doing some great challenges. It's the way it's all playing out is really interesting. The strategy is well and truly on. So we're probably a quarter of the way through now, roughly. And
we think,
feels like we're so much further into it. We're probably only a quarter of the way through, and I think they're on a winner, absolute winner. And if that means if that means they tinker with it slightly as they have been doing, they've proved willing to throw new twists into it. You've got JLP being broadly consistent but saying slightly different things. Yeah, it's obviously working. Keep doing it.
Well, I have certainly seen some previous US Survivor contestants on Twitter have been sort of popping up, hearing about all this buzz about Australian Survivor and so on. So they're also getting on the act as well. So it is generating, I think, a bit of worldwide.
Well, that's really good. That's really good that in America it's getting some.
Well, it was just today I saw the infamous Russell Hantz was even asking about Australian Survivor.
Really?
He was asking, how can I see this?
Wow.
Where can I see this Australian Survivor?
Wow. So, well, you're on a winner when you got Russell Hantz involved.
Any other Survivor news, Craig?
No, I haven't had a lot of time since the last episode to catch up on the news, so I might see what I've got for Sunday.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for that, Craig. That was a great chat and a great.
Always good to talk about Survivor, Stu.
Yes. No. Well, we'll have to see. Hopefully, they'll vote someone off on the next episode on Sunday, but we'll just have to see if they do.
Sure they will. Surely they will.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you later. Have a good week.
See ya.